What's up, guys, and welcome back for another EVE Online solo Null-Sec episode. All of the initial 30-day reaction jobs that we did completed. I want to say like completed yesterday or so, and all of the output, all the product from that carbon fiber and all that stuff pretty much went straight into the next step of reactions, which we're doing reinforced carbon fiber. All the actual output from the first reaction went into doing a max run of this stuff, so we should end up with about 80,000 reinforced carbon fiber. And then for pressurized oxidizers, we specifically did our 30-day reactions to target to do these two reactions. Once they're done, about 29 days and 22 hours, those are going to actually go into the core temp regulators right here, and we'll be able to it's going to be like another 60 days before we even have this stuff even, or more of this stuff even, good to go. And then once all these core temp regulators get done, we're going to make the maximum amount that we can. We got to start training into these things so that we can turn all that into capital core temp regulators. So the plan is to kind of finish processing all the PI we have right now into nanite repair paste, and then we will start transitioning and setting up in about a month or so. We'll start transitioning and setting up for response drones and self-harmonizing power cores to be able to output these things here, which would be nice to kind of like, the last time I did P4 manufacturing, I kind of just blanketed all 8. I kind of just made them all at very low rates, but it's going to be interesting actually going in and doing these. I do have to get P4 back up and running to do the tractor unit manufacturing, but that takes like 3 different P4s, so we might hold off on that until we kind of build out everything we have for the core temp regulators, and we're still waiting on a lot of research to complete anyway. So that is kind of the plan. We probably have like 20 or so different BPOs that still need to get done. Let's go ahead and kind of open all this up into all groups, and then we can kind of like see. I've been moving completed the fully researched BPOs to a different station so that I can more easily see kind of what we have left. So once we start getting into capital construction parts, that's gonna be very, very time consuming. I'm trying to save a lot of my slots, because the other thing I'm kind of preemptively doing right now, the Sharon the freighter BPO came out of research, and we put it pretty much back in for a copy, a X5 copy run. I have enough data cores to do 14, almost 15, but I'm rounding down, about 14 invention runs on the freighter. Our attempt there is to see how many Ray jump freighter BPCs we can produce with the data cores we have. If we get a good return on those, then I might bring in some more data cores for that stuff, or go out and do, I think a lot of those data cores can be found on the data sites out here in this null block area, which I haven't done a whole lot of recently. I've not done any data relic sites at all, much less ratting. A lot of what I've been doing here in null is processing PI and just kind of monitoring and kind of keeping the research and the reaction stuff going. As far as the next, as far as putting in more reaction jobs to kind of start the next set of reinforced carbon fiber, like we're on reinforced carbon fiber and pressurized oxidizers right now, we can go out and do some like moon mining to kind of go ahead and get the next set going behind that, if we plan on doing more core temp regulators after that. But if our plan is to just kind of build things for the sake of building them and not really doing it at scale, I'm kind of picking my investments pretty cautiously at the moment. We are essentially just making a lot of nanite repair paste right now, and we have about, I've sold a little bit, but we have about 1.4 billion worth of nanite repair paste right now, but we still have like a lot of silicon and precious metals. We also have a lot of gel matrix bio paste because our big bottleneck right now is industrial fibers, and I'll kind of go over what we're doing to kind of solve that issue. I'm not really trying to build or acquire every piece of P1 that goes into nanite repair paste. What I'm trying to do is actually process and use up all the stockpile and reserve of P1 that I have, and then once we kind of run out of everything, then we can kind of, if we choose to, we can kind of build out the PI to build all that stuff kind of evenly and produce it probably at a slower rate. But like I said, when we get into doing capital core temp regulators, we're gonna have to take our 18 planets that I've got here in Null-Sec right now, and we're gonna have to focus those on those self-harmonizing cores and the drones. So I'm trying to like line it up to where we have kind of all of the nanite repair paste built by the time we need to kind of start producing that P4. And then one of my alts is actually doing bacteria for nanites. So I'm basically building out a bunch of or farming a bunch of bacteria up to the point where it matches this reactive metal, and running nanites until we run out of essentially reactive metal, and then we'll kind of cut that that bacteria production there. And then we're doing a little bit of plasmoid. We've got one planet doing plasmoid right now, and we're basically just kind of treading water or doing a little bit of gain on that. But I'll probably cut that planet pretty soon because we're going to want to have some water left over for the actual core temp regulator input. You have to have 90 of water and 90 of structures to go into one run. And so we're going to want to keep some of that behind. We have about a little over 100,000 structures here. So I'll probably match these structures to water and then build up the plasmoids. So basically, let's say we take just 100,000 water and we match that with these structures. That would be our core temp regulator stuff. So we can kind of keep making plasmoids up to the point where we're kind of matching the 324,000, which will kind of use up those evenly. We're also got one planet running oxidizing compound as well, and that's just to pair with our oxygen, because we're focusing more on gel matrix biopaste. I'm not necessarily in the position where I want to just force an export of nanite repair paste to JITA. If we end up getting 50 to 100,000 gel matrix biopaste, that's great, because then we can cut those planets and we can really focus on data chips to kind of even out those numbers and then produce that stuff. Proteins I really don't have a plan for. These are kind of just hanging out. We might end up using them at some point. We'll probably end up using them in the P4 production for the things going into capital core temp regulators and the mold tractor units. Same with the electrolytes and all of that. But other than that, we have a lot of biomass. We have a lot of silicon that we have to go through, and that stuff. I'm essentially going to run up all the stuff we have right now, and then I'll probably dedicate several planets to actually making super tensile plastics to kind of blast or kind of full send on this biomass. We just have to basically up our oxygen production. I got oxygen coming off of this tune. I've got all three tunes doing an oxygen planet, so we actually are doing pretty well on oxygen, as it were. But other than that, that's my kind of like the Null-Sec kind of like day to day. I'm not necessarily doing mining. I'm not necessarily doing ratting. Those things would be nice, but I am also just kind of focusing on using up. I don't really like holding a lot of reserve and process materials, or I like to have all of my value in my wallet. So we're just kind of really focusing on taking this stuff, transforming it into something that can be sold. This is the other tune here, and the other big thing I'm working on right now is this tune is very, very close to her Marshall BPC. So I have essentially been just working PI and also just working these product discovery tunes, because I have a lot of them are pretty close. This tune's got, I want to say, like 6 or so days before she actually gets the Marshall BPC here. We'll keep going until we get the skin, but essentially all of my tunes that I normally run with, or everything, I like to have them at least Project Discovery complete, or PDC like I like to call. It is something that I do track. It's money I do not like leaving on the table, and a lot of the income I get from this Project Discovery goes into like job cost or reconfiguring PI or whatever. Now, the last time we looked at this tune, it was doing biomass. It was also doing silicon, and it also was splitting the P2 processing for super tensile plastics and microfiber shielding, and then it had a full send for data chips. I changed it a little bit because we have such a crazy stockpile of silicon and biomass that I really don't need to be like creating more until we kind of process what we have. So I ended up going out to a different system to, put in place another 2 temperate planets to build out the industrial fibers to help promote the production. That was our biggest bottleneck. We were waiting on that for the most part. The P2 process plant, we ended up changing over to being a full 25 factories for microfiber shielding. So right now the plan is we are just producing a lot of industrial fibers, and we are just making as much of microfiber shielding as we possibly can, and we'll probably end up taking it all over to the main, where we'll do super tensile plastics there and 2 data chips there as well, at a later date or whatever. So a lot of that stuff is kind of up in the air, and it's also going to really depend on kind of where we're sitting when we actually get ready to do the other things, like building out the stuff for the capital core temp regulators and the mobile tractor units and everything. I probably will end up taking a lot of the unused assets that I have here and probably repurposing them or selling them or sending them back to JITA so one of the other alts down there can use it. I do like having a Epinol and a crane on all 3 of my tunes out here, because on days where on weeks where I kind of leave P1 out for a long time and I don't really need it, the Epinol is really nice to just kind of switch to and go out and pick up everything. If I'm picking up daily or twice daily, the crane works out great. But when I'm like loading my process planets, I usually load them every 3 days with 75,000 of each of the P1 inputs. So an Epinol on the main works out really well. I can usually just load up 2 process planets worth of P1 and kind of just go out and get that stuff done. I did get this this Noctis whenever I was thinking about doing the rig manufacturing, because Noctis works really well for salvaging and stuff. I haven't touched it. I haven't really done a lot of ratting since I've been very, very consumed with just getting all these BPOs kind of where they need to be and getting PI where it needs to be and everything. But I'm hoping that we kind of hit a stride where we can kind of just get in and do some data relic sites or some ratting. It's just doing ratting and data relic sites and mining out here hasn't been a priority, because it's not going to necessarily move our goals in a relevant direction. So, and also it's been kind of hot around New Eden for the most part with Crimson Harvest, but we got like 22 hours or 20 hours left on that event, and then that 90% will be gone, and a lot of fleets will kind of calm down a little bit, but that's not really a concern for me. I think a lot of what we're going to end up doing is probably start doing a lot of wormhole exploration in a different series on the channel. A lot of the training, and also for the Null-Sec series here, I want to start doing some solo PvP hunts. So I've also been kind of planning some bits for that stuff and getting some skills kind of in place for what I want to use for those kind of things. But everything's progressing nicely. PI is one of my major focuses. I don't play a whole lot on these characters a day. I would say that the most I play is if I'm doing like Project Discovery, but usually I can do like 5. Actually, I've been doing about 8 tunes worth of Project Discovery every day. 5 to 8. Some of them are kind of at the point where their skill points, after a certain couple of days, their skill points kind of limit them on experience. And I care about the levels and like the BPCs of the marshals. So if a character isn't getting experience or progressing on the levels with Project Discovery, I just don't run them. So there are times where I'm doing like 5 to 8 of those tunes a day, which puts it to where I'm maybe like playing 4 to 5 hours. So while I'm doing PI, I'm also doing that product discovery and kind of slowly working towards those marshals, which it's a nice little payday reward and everything. But hopefully you guys enjoy the video, and in the next episode I'm hoping we'll kind of be able to go through a little bit more with more in depth on mining and stuff out here, or something. You also let me know in the comments if you want to know anything that you want to see that maybe I've overlooked as far as kind of operating here in Null-Sec, and I'll try to address that or answer any questions. But really, existing in Null-Sec and doing this kind of stuff is it's pretty routine for me, since I've essentially lived in Null-Sec for like 3 years at this point, and so it's very much my normal existence. So, but thank you for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.